generations before ours did not discuss these particular issues, and as such has left the modern church to address this topic really for the first time in many ways. And unfortunately, we're doing it within the context of a society that has convinced us that we should look to humanistic sources for our understanding of mankind rather than biblical sources. If, in a pastoral perspective, an individual comes to the elders of the congregation and says, I experience same-sex attraction, I want to be under the lordship of Jesus Christ, I recognize what Scripture says, and I want to be in submission to God's will. That's the key issue. Those people who are coming to the church and saying, you must accept this, you must call it good, you must celebrate this, that's a whole other realm over there. Let's leave that aside for the moment. What if pastorally you have someone in the church that says, I recognize what Scripture says, I'm under the lordship of Jesus Christ, I recognize that this is not what God's will for me is, I have prayed that these desires be removed, and yet I still have them, what do I do? The elders of that congregation must know their own congregation well enough to know the level of information that can be given to that congregation. There are some congregations that are too immature to deal with something like this. And hence, that would be something that would be kept within the eldership itself. If it's a mature congregation, then you can call all of the believers together to help in the discipleship of this individual, the holding of them to accountability, the discipleship of them, bringing them into communion with one another. And then, of course, within that context, your desire is not just to negatively attempt to push something out, but instead what you want to be doing is the process of sanctification is the growth of godliness and the growth of godly desires. I think we get a humanistic perspective where it's one or the other instead of recognizing that what is sanctification? It is being conformed to the image of Christ. And so if we want to be more and more like Christ, then the emphasis is going to be for those individuals growing them into the image of Jesus Christ, which would involve then the mortification and diminishment of anything that would be against his image in their life. That's really true for all of us, but that's especially the case in this type of a situation where the very nature of the desire goes against the created order itself. A person who admits all of those things, recognizes all of those things, can then work with the eldership of the church in such a way as to hopefully be able to glorify Christ through their obedience to his truth.